The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
That the Morphin grid allows the Zords to morph and, well, morph. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to a comically long review event. Go-Go Power Rangers is over. The crossover with the Ninja Turtles is complete. We're now set to review not just the biggest Power Rangers comic of the month of June, but perhaps of the entire run. Everything started with the mainline comic, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And despite the fact that the 0th issue debut means that the big milestone number was actually last month, we like big round numbers. 50. 50. We have reached Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 50. 50 is really the first major numerical milestone a comic series reaches, and it demands to be an event. And this is, and those other comics getting out of the way speaks to that. The stage has been cleared, and MMPR stands alone in the spotlight. Necessary Evil is coming to an end. Let's find out how by taking a look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 50. Please make sure you're subscribed to my channel to see all of my videos. Ring that bell, get your notifications set up so you're notified of whenever I post brand new videos. And if you're interested in lending any financial support to my channel, please check me out on Patreon and Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos. But you know, this is a Boom Studios event comic, and that means we have ourselves some covers to discuss, even more than usual. The main cover is actually two main covers connecting. The left version features Jason, Trini, Aisha, Rocky, Ranger Slayer, Alpha, half of Zordon's face, and yes, Remy, the Orange Solar Ranger. And on the right, Tommy, Billy, Zach, Adam, Kimberly, the Thunder Megazord, the other half of Zordon's face, and Ari, the Purple Solar Ranger. And there is a foil version that is the entire connecting cover. The trading card variant is Tommy as the Green Ranger. It's iconic itself, but the Green Ranger has nothing to do with this story. I'm not going to do the voice work on this story cover because it's been long enough that the context is kind of gone. While the Blue Emissary has been working on the Empowered, the Red Emissary went to check on Lord Draken in his reality prison. But they were ambushed, and here they're torn apart and stomped by something with 4 arms that looks really evil. Okay, I'll give you this one voice line. Finally! Our fate is ours again. Our fate? In-Hyuk Lee provides an amazing 1 in 50 variant cover, the Red Emissary changing between MMPR Red and Omega Red, partially representing Jason's duality. But the 1 in 100 version is even better. The same split, but turning to stone and shattering, reflecting the Red Emissary's fate. So I'm a little shaky on this one. It's what I think is the idea, so go with me here. MMPR issue number 37 had a variant where Lord Draken leaps through a portal. They call back to that here, basically with the full art of that image. Scorpion Comics has 2 covers. One is a very photorealistic drawing of the Green Ranger. The Dragon Dagger does seem a bit small, but hey, maybe that's the prop version. The other is a really cool drawing of the Green Ranger summoning the Dragon Zord from the sea. Listen, that's already more covers than usual, and I think some of these covers are intentionally made difficult to find online, so you just have to go and buy them. There's a second Jolzar Collectibles cover, 2 Torpedo Comics variants that I couldn't even find on their website, and a Draken character design variant that I can't find. Let's talk about the pages on the inside of the comic. The first page is just empty space.
Space. the final frontier.
Then we see something streaking through that space as a narration talks about how the essence of linear life is not knowing what the future holds. Fitting for the year that has brought us COVID-19 and increasing social unrest. It approaches a planet, and it would seem that planet is safe haven as the battle rages onward, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fighting Dane. Necessary evil!
Roll credits.
Dane tells the Rangers they're only even alive because that was the strategy. And the Rangers don't argue, Kim telling Tommy Dane's nearly out of ways to beat them, and him answering that basically the strategy is to just keep throwing themselves at him until they get a lucky shot in. Aisha says there's no time for that since the Omega Rangers are getting trashed in their Zords. Tommy has the Zord they came here in, the only Zord they can use. I would remind you that in the Justice League crossover, the Rangers summon their Zords to another dimension, so he needs to go help. Tommy is a spoiled jerk, saying Jason can handle himself and they need him. But Rocky and Adam agree with her, saying he's trained them to be ready for this. He defers to them and teleports to the Tiger Zord. Rocky points out the speech was good, but now they actually need a strategy. She has one ready. Switch it up. They charge at Dane, and Aisha and Adam switch weapons. Dane isn't concerned, his focus more on how they fight than what weapons they're using, but there's another strategy in mind here. Aisha tells Rocky to use Beta 7. Beta 7 is jetting in a combat scenario. Rocky's too low and close to control where he's going, and smashes right into Dane, which was the whole idea. You know, kind of like how the Cogs couldn't beat Bulk and Skull, I guess. Dane can't plan for chaos. Billy and Kim are duly impressed. Kim comes over and asks Aisha what the plan is. Unpredictability, she says. Switch weapons, change styles, do gymnastics, anything Dane hasn't seen. Adam, showing a lack of confidence, calls G to check in, and after he gets his sarcastic quip out of the way, he says he's doing everything he can to keep the gateway open for Ranger Slayer and needs them to keep fighting. Jason establishes contact with Zach, who's had his bell rung. Jason can't raise Trini, but Garrison informs him with a punch that he should be more concerned about himself. He drops Kiya's plan. A little turnabout is fair play, keeping the Rangers in dumpsters. But Garrison says he can always rip them up a little bit first. Tommy steps in with the Tiger Zord, claiming the sole right to beat up his friends. Garrison was hoping to get a crack at Tommy one-on-one, but Jason tries to tell him to leave, to use the Tiger Zord to get the refugees away. Garrison finally points out why this is pointless. When they're done here, Kiya is planning to attack Earth. So there's no safety there. The Tiger Zord is too big and slow to keep up with Kiya's Omega Zord, but the distraction lets Jason get a punch in and drop a hand wave. In fact, it's the exact same hand wave as in the Turtles crossover. The Omega Zords, despite showing no ability to combine with each other, are designed to naturally adapt to combine with any Zord. While this does feel kind of hand-wavy in this specific instance and in the Turtles comic, I will say that this is a pretty good general explanation on how Zords combine. I tend to prefer the toy-focused kind of engineering, where the Zords have to combine in every way we see them do so on the show, but in the meta, I think it's pretty logical to assume that the Morphin grid allows individual Zords to adapt and, well, morph in order to allow new combinations. Nerd! Yeah, that's right. The White Tiger Zord and the Red Omega Zord combine into, well, they just say the Red Tiger, but I'm going to assume that this is called the Red Tiger Megazord. Garrison plays it cool, but looks like a kid on Christmas Day, saying it's time to get this over with. This Megazord has excellent branding. Red Tiger Claw, Red Tiger Strike, Red Tiger Blade, Red Tiger Cup, Red Tiger Bedding, Red Tiger Melon Baller.
Merchandising! Merchandising! where the real money from the movie is made.
They take down the Blue Zord, but Garrison says help is on the way. The flying empowered. There are too many targets to lock onto, and before they can fly away, the power cells start overloading. They essentially think it's over. Jason apologizing to Tommy, and Tommy saying he didn't want to let Jason down. But then, a pair of purple gloved hands and a loud whoosh. Energy flies from the purple Solar Ranger, and the empowered start falling to the ground. Remy asks Ari if she's okay, especially because the Solarix is glowing like several suns. She's fine, but this is probably the most vortex energy the Solarix has ever absorbed. The empowered are no longer empowered. They wonder how, and G and Ranger Slayer explain. She went through the gate to the Beyond the Grid dimension and brought back the Solar Rangers. So I will say right off that the cover spoiling the return of the Solar Rangers kind of took a lot of the weight out of this. However, I still think that as a story tool, this is genius! For those of you who are unfamiliar with Beyond the Grid, the Solarix, the Solar Ranger's morpher, is basically like a grid-powered solar battery. It has the ability to absorb morphing grid energy, cutting some people or even entire areas off from the grid and granting that power to others. And that's what they've done here, and you'll see the scale of this in just a moment. But suffice it to say right now, every empowered in this area has been cut off from their grid-granted powers. So nobody knows who the Solar Rangers are, and acknowledging the reality reset, most of the team doesn't even know who Ranger Slayer is. Kiya calls Dane, asking if he's done with the Rangers yet. The Anointed, that's what she was calling the empowered, have failed and she needs his help. Well, Dane's busy getting beaten around by the Rangers, including just straight up shot by Billy, and deserts her, saying she's on her own and teleporting away. And who should find Kiya but Trini, knowing she'd want to be on top of the cube. Trini gives it to her straight. Her army is gone, her Zord is down, and she is also not empowered anymore. Kiya sarcastically says that she knew Trini would come to her because this is the part where she pleads to her to give this up. One last chance to stop all this because they're friends, right? Wrong. Trini's had just about enough. But remember, while Kiya isn't empowered anymore, she's still an Omega Ranger, and the two goes helmet on for their last fight. Meanwhile, Dane goes to the Hall of Captured Empowered and frees Lord Zed. It's a matter of honor. Zed broke Dane out of prison, he's returning the favor. Now, never speak to me or my son, just me, again. Zed says he wouldn't bother. Dane failed, and now word of that is going to spread. So, yeah, Zed's back.
Suspense.
Okay, there's a cute moment here that I think has been coming for a while. Trini kicks at Kiya with a Kiya, and Kiya says that yelling her name while they fight is annoying, even demonstrating by yelling Trini as she kicks her. But, okay, so I thought we had settled that her name is pronounced Kiya. The sound made when kicking and punching is usually Kiya. I suppose you can say Kiya while kicking or punching, it's just you don't normally, anyway.
Get on with it!
Just wouldn't be the 50th issue without you, MPG. Kiya makes the same observation I did. She may not be empowered, but she's still a Power Ranger. But Trini blocks her attack, whips aside her trident, and knees her in the stomach, then body slamming her. She tells Kiya she talks a lot when she's scared, and we see that she clearly is. Do I need to tell you the outcome of this battle? When the Blue Emissary already did, just before their death? The gate opened, the planets aligned, the earth rose, and the water fell. The gate, of course, is that triangular Stargate thing that Safe Haven has. The planets aligning is pointed out by the comic to be the Solar Rangers, but that's a little bit unclear. I don't remember anything pointing out that they were themed to planets, and if it's just the fact that they came to help, that's really more dimensions aligning than planets. The Earth is Trini, that's her element, and the water is Kiya, that's her element. So, that's it? 3 weeks later, Jason is speaking to the former Anointed. They want to know what their punishment is, but Jason says mistakes were made on both sides and the slate is clean. Birdman Archon asks if that goes for Kiya and Garrison Vox as well, but no. They have been contained, saved for a future story. Until a manageable long-term solution can be reached. But see, here's the thing. The Anointed are no longer a thing. Far as I can tell, and you can let me know if I'm wrong about this, anyone, anywhere that had received powers from the grid has lost them. They now have the choice to return home, or if there is no more home, to make a new life on Safe Haven. Ari and Remy prepare to return home, assured by Sally that all scans have been clear, and G has learned everything he can from the Solarics. She thanks them, but they say they are forever in her debt. It was nice to save her universe for a change. This isn't actually her universe, but anyway, they leave, barely getting out that there are new Solar Rangers. Trini offers Sally the chance to get some food, but Sally says it's time for her to go home too. Yes, back to the world of the coinless. She's scared, but she can't run away from what she's done. She walks through the gate as well, headed to her one-shot. Rounding back to something we saw earlier, we see that the MMPR have returned home and are talking to the Omegas on Safe Haven. Do these phones connect through the grid or something? Nothing happened on Earth while they were gone, and as this lion girl talks to her friends, just kidding, they say they're trying to find Goldar and the gang. Tommy tells Zach to tell Jason his karate class says hi, but Jason and Trini then arrive. The two banter back and forth about who is the better teacher, but it's good-spirited. Everybody's friends again. The MMPR get a call from Alpha, a massive energy signature entering the atmosphere, so they say goodbye to their former Ranger friends and ask the newbies if they're ready for this, which of course they are. And, well, I guess that's the end. Here are the credits to Necessary Evil. I think this was a pretty good ending. A little fight goes on, but I mean, we've hit a nice point for a reset, and I don't have a single one of you fooled, do I? Yeah, there's more. On the moon, Zed has returned home, finding the snake that is his staff and transforming it back. He talks about rebuilding the temple, finding his minions, and starting the war again. But then he sees that streak of light headed towards Earth, calling it interesting, and saying his revenge may have to wait. The Rangers think it's a comet, Tommy telling them to fan out and see if it's already landed. But it hasn't, as Billy spots it flying straight at them. It crashes to Earth, landing with a booming thud. And here is the moment. The Rangers stare into the crater, and a gatefold, a folded over 2-page spread, holds the mystery of who has landed on the Earth. And it's Lord Draken, looking crazed, only saying that they are coming. Those of you who have been watching my comic reviews for a while know what I say after really, really good Power Rangers comics, so just say it with me. Wowity wow wow wow. What a conclusion! This issue is mostly fighting, but it's meaningful fighting because it's backed up by the story. We have these various emotion arcs carried over from previous issues, and everything just comes to a head beautifully. It is so hard for me to believe that this was only a 10-issue arc within the pages of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, more obviously if you add in Go-Go Power Rangers, because it just feels like this is the conclusion of years of storytelling. So I'm sure that many of you are curious about my thoughts on the use of the Solar Rangers in this, since I was on record as hating Beyond the Grid so much. Let me make one thing clear right off the bat. Their use here does not redeem Beyond the Grid. Nothing can, not even close. I'm really, really sorry to anybody who was involved in its creation that might be watching these videos to have to say this, but Beyond the Grid was and still is very, very bad for all of the reasons I detailed in my reviews. That being said, I loved their inclusion here. And no, not just because Remy is an Orange Ranger, although she is very high on my list for that particular reason. Their section of the story was a little bit short and it was spoiled by the covers of the comic, but it was just such a perfect means to an end. The Solar Rangers had the perfect tool, the Solarics, to do the job that needed doing, depowering all of the Anointed. The Ranger comics have their own multiverse now, even outside of the franchise's own greater multiverse that they are a part of, and this was just the perfect usage of that. The Solar Rangers were the Power Rangers trump card. They played them, and they won. As I hinted at before, I am a little bit unclear on whether what the Solar Rangers did cured all of the empowered everywhere or just the ones closer to Safe Haven, which I do suppose leaves some story potential for both the Omega Rangers and the Solar Rangers. But the implication the story gives us is that this is the conclusion of the Omega Rangers story, and that we're now going to move forward with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Lord Zed, and Lord Draken, as well as this ominous new threat we saw hinted at in the story covers, and that is evil enough for the most evil character in Power Rangers franchise history to come to warn the Power Rangers about. Listen, I think it goes without saying that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 50 gets a 5 out of 5. Necessary Evil as a whole is a great story about finding your destiny and following it no matter what the people around you think. The Omega Rangers do that. The Stone Canyon Trio does that. Heck, even Kiya does that, wrong as she is. This story did what Beyond the Grid failed to do. Followed on from Shattered Grid with a brand new story that follows up on the consequences of those events. It is not, however, perfect. I think some of the hurt feelings we see in the story, especially between Jason and Tommy, fall under the banner of maybe we can talk about this later when all of reality isn't on the line. And as petty a point as it is to bring back up when I'm talking about reviewing the entire series, I still think the Omegazords are ugly as sin. Necessary Evil was fantastic and leaves me looking forward to what comes next, getting a 4.75 out of 5. Next time on a comically long review, well, actually, it's gonna be a couple of weeks. We're now down to just one Power Rangers comic line. But don't worry, we're not just getting one Power Rangers comic in the month of July. We're actually getting 2 issues of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 51 on the 15th and issue 52 on the 29th. Between those two, Ranger Slayer walked through the gateway and back into her world. And we'll see what happens with that on the 22nd in Ranger Slayer number 1. However, that means we have no new Power Rangers comics on the 1st or the 8th. And when we have no new Power Rangers comics, we review old Power Rangers comics. That's right, we'll have 2 weeks of Blast from the Past and the Hamilton Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comics. However, when I say next time, it is in reference to the show you are currently watching. So next time on a comically long review, while Lord Zed rebuilds his palace, an old threat has returned, warning of a new threat. Find out what's going on there when I review Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 51. That's going to wrap up another comically long review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Now that this issue and Necessary Evil as a whole are over, you can let me know what you thought of them, as well as my review of all of them, and just talk about the story and everything down in those comments below. And while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button and let me know that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to a comically long review event. I've already forgotten it. God. The crossover with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is complete. God. The crossover with the Ninja Turtles is complete. The crossover with the Ninja Turtles is complete. Now, where the Zords have to combine in every way we see them do so on the show. I kind of like the more toy folk. It was a little short, their section of the story, and who else knows? But the impression the story gives us is but the implication we get from the story is that this is the conclusion of the Omega Rangers story. Farts! And while you're down there, you can also smack that thumbs up button, and you can do this take again.